Troy Archibald was born November 23, 1963, in the port city of Hamilton, Ontario. His father was a craftsman who built models of Iroquois villages, and Troy picked up building and designing skills from his father, learning to appreciate the solidarity in nature. He studied nature close up by leaving on a series of expeditions into the Canadian wilderness in his youth. At age 24, he began his higher education at Fleming College, studying natural sciences. He wanted to expand his knowledge of bears specifically, and had it in mind to create a suit of armor to allow for studying up close and placing cameras in bear dens. With the scrap metal business he owned, Troy had ample parts to create this armor in his spare time. Thus began his journey of inventing and tinkering to fame. Along that journey, Troy would meet his wife, test projects with her and his friends, get mocked by scientists, and end it with a sad demise. The Ursus Suit, Troy's first and most famous creation, was made to be a suit of armor that is bear-proof. Troy had the idea when on an expedition in the summer of 1984, out studying nature. He ran into a white-chested grizzly coming within a few yards of the beast. He scared it away by yelling and threatening the beast and shouting he'd stab the thing where the sun don't shine. Since that encounter, Troy wondered how he could safely study bears within close proximity. With his resources, he began building armor and tested his protection by having his friends hit him with bats, clubs, and moving trucks. The suit's various models are comprised of hardened plastic, chain, and metal. Patchworked together, they create a bizarre-looking suit that no words could do the justice to properly describing. His Ursus Suit was his biggest legacy, and he even had a documentary created called Project Grizzly to fund further research on the suit. The Ursus Suit was never finished, and Troy Archibald continued refining it until his demise. After witnessing the Space Shuttle Columbia disaster on television in 2003, Troy had the idea for a heat-resistant material he called fire paste. After an acclaimed 17 years development on it, he created the perfect formula for it, which hardens into brick-like tiles, extremely heat-resistant. Troy claimed that this fire paste could replace the $6 million that NASA spends on armoring space shuttles with a $25,000 alternative. Despite promising results, the most attention this ever got was a demonstrational segment on the Daily Planet News. Troy left fire paste behind in his mid-40s, had no permanent job, means of providing for himself or his family, and he felt his age in his bones. He could no longer test his Ursus Suit, and ended up selling two of his precious earlier models on eBay, starting the bid at $5,000 and hoping for $200,000 to cover his debts. Troy got $2,000. Devastated, with 100 times less than what he needed for his debt, Troy began looking for new ideas. So far his life had been projects that no one took seriously, mockery from the scientific community, and failure after failure. All Troy wanted was a lucky break. The Angel Light came to Troy in a dream. It was a ray gun-like machine which allegedly used light to see through walls, essentially X-ray vision. Troy claimed that where he shined the light, he could see through his garage wall and clearly read his car's license plate. He legitimately had the interest of members of Saudi counterintelligence agency and claimed to have the interest of the French government. After further researching his light, he found that when he shined it on his hand, it numbed it, and when he shined it on a tank of goldfish, it killed them in minutes. Disturbed by its capabilities, Troy disassembled it and started a new model named the Godlight, switching focus to therapeutic effects. Troy started testing this device with plants, while sharing ideas through messages with an anonymous German engineer who believed the light caused instant cellular regeneration. He found that plants would grow faster under the light. After testing on plants, Troy tested the light on lab rats with cancerous tumors in a Toronto hospital. Those tumors decreased dramatically in size after the Godlight was shined on them. After that brief testing on mice, Troy moved on to looking for uses in helping humans. It was at this point that Troy's German colleague left the scene, because testing on humans was unethical in the Germans' eyes. A man with Parkinson's disease had reached out to Troy online, whom he had agreed to help, and after 3 sessions of using the Godlight, Troy claimed the man was back to normal, and that the Godlight had also helped his family with various ailments. He challenged people to prove him wrong, saying that if they tried and failed, they owe him 20 grand, and that they proved him fraudulent, he would give them 20 grand. No one took him up on this offer. Troy eventually left the Godlight and Angel Light behind as they joined the ranks of his inventions no one took seriously: failures. Troy needed a lucky break. He was a tired, heartbroken man who poured his mind into his creations, which people just laughed at. Even in 1998, he got the IG Nobel Prize, which is a mockery Nobel Prize. A complete joke, and it just made the scientific community laugh at him and take him less seriously. His hopes of making a serious scientific mark on the world were dwindling every day. In 2007, Troy finished work on the synthesis of his bear suits and ideas, called Trojan Armor. He worked on this project for 17 years. It was intended to be used by soldiers in Afghanistan. It was bulletproof, equipped with knives, firearm holsters, pepper spray, and more. This armor also covered 97% of the body and could be produced at the relatively affordable cost of $2,000 per unit. No country, company, or person took interest in this invention of Troy's either. After spending the last of his money, $150,000, on designing and testing the Trojan armor, Troy had to sell his truck to support his family. He moved in with his mother to reflect on his life. He tinkered here and there and tried to sell an autobiography to get by. June 17, 2018, with little money, energy, or joy in his life, Troy Ursus died in a head-on collision with an oil truck at the age of 54. After a lifetime of experimenting, getting knocked down and getting back up, Troy Ursus died, in his words, an unsuccessful man.